cloud cover, it seemed like. They said it was the worst winter in 50 years in England, the year that we, 44, 45. And when we'd take off, each base had a certain direction that they had to go from their base, climbing out, and they went half of the altitude that they were going to assemble on, and they'd do a plus 2,000 feet, and then they'd do a 180 degree and climb back on up to the assembly altitude, which was from 10 to 12,000 feet normally, and we'd usually be above the cloud. With the assembly ship, which ours was the Spotted 8, it would take off early, and it would climb up there, and it would fly a racetrack course right over our base, and you designate where it was by your radio compass that was on the plane. You could tell when you was right over the base. And then as each plane got up there, because the plane took off 30 seconds apart, and there'd be about a half a mile between planes. When you got up there, you'd get into your position, and you'd fly that racetrack until the time that you'd leave in the bomber stream going over to the target. And sometimes that bomber stream was 200 miles long. So, and we'd go out over Ipswich, I believe it was, and you'd make one 45-degree turn to the left, and if you were too close behind, you'd circle out a little bit and get your right distance. If you were too far behind, you'd cut a little short on that to get into your position, and you'd make one more for your final correction to get your position behind your group ahead of you. So this was occasion, but when coming back from one of those missions, and usually the clouds would build up during the day, and we'd usually be close to 12,000 feet when we'd get back over England, and we'd have to come down through the clouds. So we would turn out at a 10-degree heading, that was what our base was, and fly out so many minutes for what altitude you were before you start peeling off. And you're peeling off every 30 seconds, the plane would peel off. You had to order in which to do that. And then you'd let down through the clouds at a set speed, and you'd come down till you saw the water in the English Channel, because we'd be out over the English North Sea there. And we've gotten down as close to 200 feet before we ever spotted the water, and had to level out and come in, and had to stay below that. And we'd get over land, get back to our base, and there'd be smokestacks and towers and different things. You'd have to dodge them because you'd be down so low where you could see the ground. And then if another plane from some other group was out of position and he went across, somebody had to go up in the clouds and then come back down again. You never knew what was going to be in front of you. And of course, we had one friend of ours that went up one morning, and they come back and the fog had moved in, and we heard them go across our base very low, and it went right over Norwich and hit the cathedral, and it sheared a wing, and it went in right in the center of Norwich up there. And of course they were all lost in that occasion. So this southern where we were turning up there, we lost two planes that I think that they were looking right into the sun, and one plane didn't see the other one turning and flew right into it, and they both went right into the clouds as soon as they hit. And there was 20 men on those two planes, and they were all lost. And that evening after we got back and had eaten, we went by the mortuary, the place where they laid out the bodies was a garage back behind the medical facility, and all these boys, we'd been out with one of the crew town at the movie and stopped at a pub on the way back the night or two before, so we knew those boys. Just those things. You got any questions?
Going back right to the beginning, when you was talking about when you first arrived, you said about a few stories in Ireland. You heard a few bad stories, you felt a little bit sort of funny about it. How did you, what did you do in terms of morale on the bases to cheer the spirits up?
What did we do on the base?
Yeah, for morale.
Morale. For your morale. To cheer yourselves up.
When we started combat, they pulled us off of combat and we flew gas down to France because they'd outrun their gas supplies when they broke out of Normandy. And while we was down there, the ground forces had captured a bunch of champagne that the Germans had. Well, they loaded us up with a lot of champagne. We'd haul gas down and champagne back, but we couldn't drink any of it, and they confiscated it when we got back to England. And but when it come Thanksgiving, why they had their Thanksgiving meal, and they put all this champagne on the table. You could sit there and drink all that you wanted with champagne, but you couldn't take it out of the mess hall. So they did the same thing again at Christmas time.